Hey, welcome! So let's just dive right in, shall we? We're going to talk about something we all do every single day. Wake up. But what if we could transform that simple act from, a groggy, reactive chore into a powerful, proactive launch pad for the entire day? Well, that's exactly what we're breaking down right now.
Okay, so let me start with a really simple question, and be honest with yourself. Is your phone the very first thing you reach for when you wake up? Maybe before your feet even touch the floor? If you're nodding your head yes, you are definitely not alone. But, as we're about to see, this tiny little habit, it has some pretty massive consequences.
And just look at this number on the screen. It's kind of wild. According to brain coach Jim Quick, the average person opens an app like Instagram 150 times a day. 150. And for so many of us, that whole cycle of distraction, it kicks off this second our eyes open.
And that brings us right here, to what we can call the morning default trap. See, that impulse to just grab your phone isn't some harmless little habit. It's actually actively rewiring your brain for distraction. It's training you for a state you probably don't want to be in all day long.
So here's the thing. When you start your day scrolling, what you're really doing is practicing distraction. Every single like, every share, every notification, it's a little dopamine hit that teaches your brain to constantly look for the next shiny object, making it way harder to focus later. You're also practicing being reactive, immediately jumping to attention for alerts and messages from the outside world.
And wow, this quote just nails it. Jim Quick shares this from Brendon Burchard, and it is so powerful. Think about it. When you check your email or messages first thing, you're not setting your own priorities. You're basically opening the floodgates and letting everyone else's demands and agendas rush into your mind and dictate your day before it's even really begun.
But what's actually going on inside our heads during that first hour? Let's get into the science a bit because this is fascinating stuff. The reason that first hour is so critical is because of the really unique state your brain is in right when you wake up.
So, in those first few moments, your brain is moving through what are called the alpha and theta states. You know that moment in the shower when you get a brilliant idea out of nowhere? That's kind of like the theta state. And the alpha state is that super relaxed awareness you get when you're meditating. Now, the key here is that in these states, your brain is incredibly suggestible. It's almost like it's in a light trance.
So what that means is you have a choice, a really important one. Because your brain is so impressionable right then, whatever you feed it first is what sets the emotional tone for the rest of your day. If you jump straight into bad news or stressful work emails, all that negativity gets anchored in. But if you choose to start with, say, intention or gratitude, you're literally programming yourself for a totally different kind of day.
Okay, so how do we actually make that proactive choice? Well, let's look at a solution that starts not with the mind, but with the body and the spirit, and it draws from the really profound but incredibly simple wisdom of Sadhguru.
I mean, what a perspective shift this is. Sadhguru points out that every single night, nearly 250,000 people, they don't wake up. But you did. And he asks, doesn't that simple, incredible fact, doesn't it deserve a smile? Before anything else, the very first act of your day can just be celebrating the fact that you're alive.
And he offers this simple 4-step physical routine to do just that. So first, you rub your hands together. This actually activates all the nerve endings in your palms and starts to wake up your whole system. Second, you place those warm palms over your eyes to just gently awaken your senses. Third, you smile. You just acknowledge that you and the people you care about are alive. And finally, you roll to your right side before getting up. Apparently, it's gentler on your heart as your body's metabolism kicks in.
Okay, so that simple practice from Sadhguru gets our body and spirit grounded in gratitude. It's all about starting with presence. So now, let's build on that. How do we take that calm, centered energy and then prime our mind for peak performance for the rest of the day? For that, we turn back to our brain coach, Jim Quick.
Now, this is a fundamental mindset shift. We tend to talk about things like focus, motivation, or creativity as if they're nouns, things we either have or we don't. But Quick says, no, think of them as verbs. They're things you do. There's a process for generating focus. There's a process for creativity. You don't have to just sit around and wait for them to show up. You can actually kickstart them yourself.
And to help us do exactly that, he gives us this simple, really memorable acronym. If you want to learn faster, if you want to think sharper, you just have to be fast. So think of this as your mental warm-up for that first hour. B is for believe. Actively remind yourself that your limits for the day are often just self-imposed beliefs. They're not facts. E is for exercise. Just a few minutes of light movement gets the blood flowing to your brain. Like Quick says, as your body moves, your brain grooves. F is for forget. Just let go of what you think you know. Approach the day with a fresh, beginner's mind. A is for active. Plan to be a creator today, not just a passive consumer. S is for state. Consciously choose your emotional state. You can decide to be curious or grateful or determined. And finally, T is for teach. Learn everything today with the intention of being able to explain it to someone else. It really makes it stick. All right, let's bring all of this together with one final, super powerful metaphor that just perfectly captures the whole goal of a great morning routine.
So, what's the difference between a thermometer and a thermostat? Well, a thermometer, it just reacts to the environment, right? It tells you the temperature, it's totally passive. But a thermostat sets the environment. It has a goal, a specific temperature it wants to achieve, and it actively influences its surroundings to meet that goal. It's proactive.
And that right there is the ultimate takeaway. Starting your day by checking your phone makes you a thermometer, just reacting to whatever the world throws at you. But by using these kinds of practices like Sadhguru's Awakening and Quick's mental frameworks, you become the thermostat. You set the tone. You define the conditions for your own success and well-being for the entire day. So, I'll just leave you with this final thought. After everything we've talked about, what choice are you going to make when you open your eyes tomorrow? Are you going to just react to the temperature of the world, or are you going to be the one who sets it?